Welcome, welcome. How are folks doing tonight? So I just watched Dracula 1931 for the first time. A movie that people always mention, people always say, oh yeah, with Bela Lugosi. But how many people have actually watched it? I think most people have just watched documentary films of film through the ages, and I've seen parts of it through those kind of things. But I decided that I wanted to take a step further. I am going to go back and I'm going to watch this movie. And then I can always say that I've seen it. Yeah, with this film, everyone always mentions, oh yeah, with Bela Lugosi. Like he's a big deal, or was a big deal. But I have no idea what else he's honestly in. Was he ever famous for anything else? Was he in Shakespeare plays? I know nothing. So think about it and be honest. Can you name a single other movie with Bela Lugosi? I bet you can't. Anyways, at this point, I'm sure everyone has some basic idea of the story of Dracula. Without spoilers, there's, the titular vampire villain character Dracula and his three wives. Then you've got Dr. Van Helsing and a few other characters, and then hijinks. And obviously the story's been retold many times with different approaches to it, so at this point you don't want the details, you just want to know, is this film, this old artifact, worth revisiting? So my hypothesis going into this one was, it was just going to be an old artifact that you check out just to say you've seen, you saw it. And for most part, that's kind of what it was. There were moments where it felt like the filmmakers were trying to make something special, but it definitely got hampered down by dated filming techniques. Like, for example, whenever the movie, obviously they're coming off the silent film era, you'll have scenes where something's happening, then the scene just ends abruptly, goes to dark, fades out, fades in, and it's another scene. And it's very abrupt. And it's kind of like that throughout the whole film. And even the very ending just ends very abruptly. It just ends. Like the end, and it's like, okay, that was sudden. And yeah, it is interesting. It is kind of cool. There are scenes and certain shots where it's neat how they filmed that, or you could tell they really got into it, but it is a dated film. But it is always fun watching older films and see them try to do horror or scary stuff to push the envelope of what could be done back then. If someone asked me to critique Bela Lugosi's performance, I would say he was super over the top. His performance was just very over the top. He was always doing this wide-eyed, I'm Bela Lugosi kind of a thing that was interesting and entertaining to say the least. If there's one thing that made me really happy that I saw this one, was the Dr. Van Helsing character. He had a very specific look to him, with a receding hairline / crew cut and these thick glasses that looked like goggles that made me think anime or something else. But basically he had a very specific look to him where I'm pretty sure a lot of other modern movies or cartoon shows have referenced him, Dr. Van Helsing, out of this movie. You just have to see the film to see what I mean. But he had a look, and I'm like, oh, that's where that comes from. That's where that look, that personality, that facial expression. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed that element. So there's always small nuggets in these older films that are fun to learn about. And yeah, the Dr. Van Helsing character actually was pretty cool on screen. You would have his moments where he's essentially just doing like a little man off with Dracula in the room, figuring things out. And I'm like, hey, this is actually a legitimately cool character. And his coolness actually comes across very well in that old movie. So his performance to me was the star performance, not the Bela Lugosi Dracula performance. But yeah, mostly in the end, it really was just an old artifact with a few nuggets of things to learn while watching it. But I'm glad I watched it because I'm all about the education, and learning is half the battle. Have a good night, everyone.